Hey everybody, welcome to live coding with Jesse, and I'm Jesse. Sorry I was a few minutes late. Thanks for your patience. So today, before I start anything, we've got important business. So Star Wars came out. If anybody has seen Star Wars, do not say anything about it to me in this chat or at all. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow. So if anyone says anything about Star Wars, about the new movie or anything that happened in it, then you will be permanently banned from the live chat. So no spoilers. Alright, so now that's out of the way, we have some data coming in now. So I've got some stuff working. I'm going to show you. It's not working exactly how I want it to, so we'll have to work on that. But I'll show you what we have. Harshit's done a regular expression that achieves everything that we wanted it to achieve from what we were talking about yesterday. We'll have a nice slug that matches the current site so that the URLs are not broken for the new site. Also, just a little update. I have been promising for a while to do a video review of the Udacity React Nano degree. So I did one yesterday, and unfortunately when I went to look at the recording, my face was cut off. Like from here up it was cut off, so you could only see my mouth. So I did what it, it came out pretty nice in terms of content, but I can't use it. So hopefully, maybe I'll try to re-record that soon while it's still fresh in my mind, and get that up on my own channel. But I know a few people had asked about that, so I just wanted to give you all an update. Okay, let me check the live chat quickly before we start. Let's see. Okay, it looks like somebody mentioned net neutrality. Rook did, yeah. So I'm sure you all have been hearing about the net neutrality thing. Yeah, I guess I don't really have that much of a comment on it because it happened. It got repealed. I really can't do anything about it. I mean, I know it's good to sign petitions and call and all that, but at the end of the day, they didn't really listen to people that did that. So I just don't know what to think about that. So it still might be mitigated depending on what else happens with the government, but my opinion on this is, personally for me, is trying to figure out ways to work around it if the worst happens of what is possible with this. So yeah, because ultimately if the government says it, like, that's how it's going to go, businesses are going to do what they're going to do, so we just got to figure out some way to deal with it. So anyway, that's where I'm at now with that. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how everything goes. I only have one internet provider where I'm at, so I don't really have a choice. So whatever they do, I'm gonna have to deal with unless I can figure something else out. So I'm kind of hoping that my internet provider is behind the times on everything, like way behind the times. Like they didn't even accept credit card payments for a really long time. So I'm hoping that they're still so behind and they just don't even change anything. So that's my hope now. Anyway, I'm no expert on that, so I just don't want to say too much because I'm sure I'll say something wrong. Alright, so let me I can't forget to switch my screen, huh? Alright. So, I guess I could show the regular expression first. Let me show you that, because it's pretty cool. Oops, I got it over here. Okay, so I've pushed this up to GitHub. So this is that FCC DB migrate repository on GitHub, and now I've just copy and pasted this right from what Harshit gave me. Basically, we're taking the post content title, which, if you remember from yesterday, will have like titles in it like doctor or TOR or father. So we don't want those in the slug because the original URLs don't have those. We just want last name hyphen first name, all lowercase. So we take it, first thing we do is we make it all lowercase. Then here's the regular expression that checks. You can see we're checking for doctor, we're checking for father, we're checking for TOR. And then if we find anything else as we go along that shouldn't be in there, we can add it in, right, with the same pattern. So I don't know enough about regular expressions to read everything that's going on, but generally this part is pretty easy to understand. Okay, and then we're replacing a space with a dash. Harshit also commented out some stuff that just in case we need to reverse the names. So right now all the names are in good order, but if we come on some that aren't in the right order, we could also correct that here. So now, as this is what we pass in to create the post in WordPress, so now we pass in the slug and it's the name. So now we have a custom slug, and what it ends up looking like, oops, let me move some stuff over to another screen when I was working on it earlier, so let me move it back. So what it ends up looking like is this. So you can see the slug in this case is Haney Eric, and you can see the title that we originally had was Haney, Dr. period Eric, right? So we went from that, and then with that few lines that Harshit gave us there, it turned it into this. So it's perfect, exactly what we wanted. So now we have the proper slugs, and what I've done with that now is, so as a test, here's what I've done. So it's not ready yet. So I don't know if you all have looked at the latest updates to the Franciscan site repo on GitHub, but Harshit added this test page to test out GraphQL, and he was doing some other things with that just as a test, and it worked. But I've gone in now and I've replaced the test URL with the URL for our actual WordPress installation into our init Apollo file, and then in our test GraphQL page, right, so it's in the pages folder here. So in our test file, I've added a little bit. So I was getting an error that it was returning null, so I did add this little bit in here. So if loading is true, it returns loading. And then I added this div. So there was an H1 there that was displaying some data like a title. So I changed and added this. Also, I added this down here. So I passed in to sample query as an option. I passed in the variable's name. All right, and that's basically slug, right? So, and I just manually put in Haney Eric. But eventually what I'll do is I'll replace this with the slug that we're going to grab from the URL. So right now as a test, it's hard-coded. Our next step will be to actually use a variable here. And you can see in our post.js, we have sample query, and we're passing in name as a string. So this, then this variable name, this $ name goes here. So we're looking up the faculty, so the faculty member, the faculty post, where name is this variable, which will end up being, in this case, Haney-Eric. Okay, and then I'm just grabbing some data, ID, title, slug, content, and then some data about the departments, right, which was our category, our custom taxonomy. Okay, so I'm not using all this data right now, but eventually I'll probably use it all, so I just added that in. And now, here's the weird part of what happened. So when I did this, I was getting a 403 error. Let me double check that and confirm that it was a 403. I've had this open for a while and now I can't get back. Here we go. Not the 403. Okay, so 403. Let's see. Yeah, that's all. Maybe I'll let's get rid of all this and let me refresh. So I'll show you what I got. So here's what that page looks like. You don't get the image by default because it's using relative URLs. So you can see we got that loading first and then the data came in. So the images right now are pointing to a folder on localhost that doesn't exist. So we'll need to figure out what we're going to do with those. But we get all the data that was here, right? So on this page, right, the images work. We have this data, but it's all visible by default. And so we have all of this. But it's just you have to click it to actually see it. And instead of being in multiple columns, it's all just in one column, which is fine. So that's what we got. But if we see, we're getting some errors here. So we're getting a 403 and 3. I'm not exactly sure what the problem is or what's going on, but to be honest, I haven't really taken very much time at all to look at it. What I've done is simply check where the data is coming in, because we are actually getting the data. So you could see, obviously we got the data, but here's how it went. We've got this props data, error, network error, result, data, faculty, edges, and it's an array, so we went with the first of that array, and then node content. That's how we get to it all. So that's that. First of all, that's a long way to go and a lot to write, but also we should not have to go into the error section, right? So something's wrong. So we'll have to figure that out at some point. I mean, realistically, we can still continue on with trying to style this page, but at some point, I think we need to figure out, what's going on here. I mean, realistically, though, it works, right? So it's not really the end of the world. Let me check the live chat because I see a lot going on over there. See if you all have any thoughts on this. Okay, Control U. I want to see it. Server-side render. Oh, okay, so alright, you want to see open WordPress. Alright, so what do you want to see in WordPress? Harshit. Alright, while I'm waiting for Harshit to respond, I'll answer some questions that I saw. Christopher asks, what exactly does net neutrality mean? And all right, so like I'm not an expert on this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, and don't take this as being like for sure, 100% accurate. But it's my understanding that net neutralities were some rules put in place a few years ago. I don't remember exactly when. That were supposed to guarantee equal access to the internet, and it restricted internet service providers from like throttling or blocking different areas of the internet, from doing things like charging more for certain places in the internet, doing things like making websites pay for, like, I mean, there's a lot of weird things that could happen in terms of like segmenting out the internet and charging different amounts. Essentially, they could block some parts of the internet, really. So my understanding, that's my understanding. So now, because that's been repealed, there may be some other legal things that have to happen before corporations could take advantage. I'm not really sure. But now corporations could potentially segment parts of the internet and make you pay more. Like, if you just want to access your email, it's so much a month. But if you want to look at Facebook, you have to pay more. If you want to look at, YouTube, you have to pay more. Netflix is more. I mean, it could be weird too. I mean, think of an internet service provider got into the business of, I don't know, for instance, let's say like Comcast somehow bought out Netflix, right? It's probably not going to happen, but what if it did happen? Comcast bought out Netflix. Comcast then allows everybody access to Netflix, but you have to pay extra, or it completely blocks Amazon Prime Video and Hulu and YouTube, right? So, I mean, you could have weird things like that happening. It's not unheard of that big, companies like internet providers have partnerships or parent companies or something with, going on with this kind of stuff. So that could happen. One of the arguments, I think, against net neutrality was, okay, well, if you introduce competition, everything will work itself out in the market. But my opinion, like I said, this is my unqualified opinion, is that normally I'm okay with the fact that market forces work pretty well, with some exceptions, right? So, sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I apologize. So there's some exceptions to that, right? And one exception being if you have a monopoly already in place with high barriers to entry. Okay, so basically meaning you have a, sorry for explaining this at a real low level, but I'm sure most of you already know some of this stuff, but I want to make sure I don't leave anybody out who's not familiar with this. So you have an industry, for example, like let's say the automotive industry, right? There's only a few big companies that control the automotive industry, and it was even worse before. Back when you just had, like, Ford was the huge company. What was it? Ford and, was it Chevrolet? Were those the big ones? I can't even remember now. But back in the day, those were, like, the huge companies. And the barrier to entry to get into making automobiles was huge because it cost so much for all the machinery and everything. Like, it's a big barrier to entry. There's still a big barrier to entry to get in, but not as bad as it was. So in that case, it would make sense for the government to step in and regulate that a bit so that it would make it easier for competition to come in, right? And it would protect consumers from, let's say, like the prices being jacked up because they had no options, right? So with the internet, the same thing is happening, I think, right? So for me, I don't have any options for the internet, right? So for me, what will happen is if there's no regulations, I'll have to accept whatever my internet service provider gives me because I can't go anywhere else. Okay? It would be more reasonable to repeal net neutrality if people legitimately had options. If everybody everywhere had, let's say, 10 different companies that they could go with that gave equivalent service, then you could reasonably think, okay, well, if one company does this, people will just go elsewhere. And the company that ends up not doing this is going to get all the business. That makes sense, right? You can't jack up your prices or give somebody a worse product if you know your competition is just going to take all your customers. But the problem is there's no competition in a lot of places. So for some areas, I think they'll be okay, even with net neutrality repealed, as long as there's enough internet service providers that there is still competition. But for a lot of people, particularly in rural areas, it's going to be bad because they have nowhere else to go. If the choice is not between two internet service providers, it's between having the internet and not having the internet. So that's the way I feel about it. So anyway, probably I don't know what's going to happen with it, but realistically, I think the long-term solution to the problem is there has to be more companies that are providing internet. Something has to happen, and whether the government facilitates that a bit, so be it if it has to happen like that. Generally, and I studied economics in college, so maybe this is some of that coming out, but generally I'm against government being too heavy-handed in business, because usually by the time they actually do anything, they're a day late and a dollar short. So it's like they're trying to correct problems that really have already worked themselves out in terms of economic stuff, and usually their correction ends up causing more problems a few years down the road. So I think sometimes it would be better because they're always so reactive, right? Like the problem's there. By the time they do something, the problem's already in the process of working itself out, right? In a lot of cases, not in every case, but in a lot of cases. So I think it's a lot of fuss about nothing, and they really don't have as much control as they think over economics. But in the case of monopoly, that is the proper place when the government should step in. So in this case, I think it would be very reasonable for the government to step in and do something about what's happening and not allow these companies to just do what they want. Anyway, sorry, that's my economic stream for the day. So I'm going to stop now. Alright, so back to Harshit. Wanted to see the source for WP GraphQL. So let's check that out. And WP GraphQL. Sorry I made you wait for so long, Harshit. You could probably see the source code for this as well on their GitHub repo if you didn't want to wait for me. I am running version 0.0.22. Let's see. Okay, Christopher said thanks for sharing it. No problem, no problem. Yeah, sorry for anybody who wasn't really interested in hearing that, but to give a full answer to that question, I had to explain myself. Christopher says, will the validity of information be protected still? Yeah, that's another issue as well. If you have any info that you really don't want other people to know, I suggest using a VPN. A VPN that you can trust. It's a virtual private network, and ad blocking, block what's tracking you, things like that. I mean, if you don't really have anything that's that interesting and that you don't care if people know, then don't worry about it. But potentially, if you're in a country that you could get in trouble for the things you do on the internet, then I would maybe definitely think about doing using a VPN. Yeah, and yeah, my political views. I didn't really get political, to be honest with you. It was more of my my economic perspective, which I actually don't really identify with any of the current political parties in the United States. So I have my views on different issues that have nothing to do with whatever people from different parties talk about. So anyway, but I'm not going to talk politics here. But yeah, my views are my own. They do not reflect the views of freeCodeCamp or Franciscan University of Steubenville. Alright, so let's... I'm still waiting. Search 403 in there. Okay, sorry, Harshit. I didn't see that you put that in there. That was my fault. So I'm going to search... Oh, no. Thank goodness that undo and redo work in the browser in Chrome. Okay. There we go. What was it? 403. No. Alright. Let me go to GitHub. I really hate using the WordPress code editor, so it's just going to be easier. I'll find it on GitHub and then I'll look it up in there. No 403s, huh? Interesting. Oh, actually that first one looked... Throw error on object clone. Hold your single down to a single object if you don't want an object to be cloned. Is that the error I got? It looks familiar. Could not be cloned. No, that's... Alright, let me look back. Change default status to 200. Alright, so Harsha says I should change my default status to change default status to 200. Alright. So let's figure out where I should do this. Didn't think I'd be looking through PHP files today. Alright, well this is... No, that wasn't it. That error had to do with the DOM. 4-3 forbidden. Let's see. Alright, so Harshit, where... I'm trying to find where to put this default status to 200. I'm not sure where. Yeah, so I'm not finding, let's see, status, I'm not finding anything in here. Let's see what other, so I wonder what else, if there are other files maybe. Actually, let me check what I downloaded here. Okay, yeah, so it does have all this stuff. Alright, cool. Harshit has a link for me here. Let's check this out. Thank you, Harshit. Public status code 43. Okay, router.php. Alright, let's try to find that then. Okay, set the default code to 403 to represent unauthenticated requests. Authenticated requests should be set to the status code to 200. Alright, so I just need to set this then to 200. Harshit, that's a lot of caps. I saw it. Maybe there's just a delay. There must be a delay, I think, Harshit, between you and I. But anyway, it's cool. I'm getting I'm getting it. All right, so let's copy that and change it over. So what I'm assuming then is potentially if we use authenticated requests, this would have worked without a change, right? But yeah, Harshit, you're right. We're only getting data, so we don't really need authentication anyway. So this should be okay to change this. We just have to remember if we ever update this plugin and things don't work, we need to change that again or start authenticating. Okay. I'm not going to copy all that since it's right here. Let's update that. And now, let's see. Yep. So now we need to change where we're getting the data, right? So let's see where the data is supposed to be. I guess here's what we'll do first. Man, I saw somebody in a video and they had some command that displayed the JSON like in a really nice readable way, but I can't remember what it was. So data faculty edges node. Okay, let's do this. Let's try this. There we go. Oh, it was working. What's going on now? There we go. I just had it zoomed in. Okay, cool. So now it is working. Oh, okay, cool. So Harshit has says JSON stringify data comma null comma 2 formats with 2 spaces, and then put that in a pre-tag. Awesome. I'll have to remember that. I don't often have to output JSON, you know, right to the DOM like that, but that's really convenient if you can output it in something that is more readable. It worked out well, and even in our case, because it wasn't nested that far in the data we needed, so it was okay. All right, cool. So now let's double check our console just to see, to verify that we're not getting errors. We should still get errors. Let me clear that and then refresh. We should still be getting errors for the images. Yeah, 404 is for the images, and 1, 2, yeah. And what else? 404 source WordPress. Okay, this is all fine. Great. All right, so now that we have this, let's think what our next. Oh, our next step then is to instead of passing just this test string, we're actually going to pass the variable. So actually, let's go back. I'm going to do this. Let's go in now into our console and let's check React. And here, let's go with our data variables, and then no, that's not it. That's not what I want. What do we need? I should be passing URL. Oh, okay. I know why this isn't working. What I need to do now is let's grab all this and paste it into faculty. And let's see. Paste that into faculty. We're going to change this. Let's change every instance of test to faculty. And what we should be getting, I should have paid more attention to this. Is this ID? Let me see if I can find it. Let me just save this for now. And then let's go to a page. Faculty, and we're going to go. I don't remember how that's ERHANNI. ERIC. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that's what we should have gotten, the same data, but the URL is different now. Now here's what we should be getting as well, is some extra data here about router props. But I can't remember where we get it. Is it the query? There it is. Okay, so router, yeah. Router query ID. Okay, so let's try to pass that in then. Oops, where's our... I had how we did this on the bulletin open on my other screen as well, just for reference. Let's see. Let's see if this will work. Okay. Not sure if this will work or not. Looks like it did not. Cannot read props of undefined. I was wondering if I had access to props there. I lost my live chat window. Here it is. Okay, let me check the live chat here. Okay, cool. So Harsh is saying get initial props, return query. Alright, so let's put this in here. Alright, this props query. Let's see if that works. Almost. Dang it. What error am I getting? Doesn't tell me much. What? Okay. Oh, I shouldn't have to return off of that, right? Cannot read property props of undefined. Alright, where am I trying to get props at? Alright, what am I doing? ID the passive. Alright, so static. Sorry, I lost my my window again. Alright, so yeah, we have static get initial prop. So Harsh just let me know to do static get initial props. Alright, so I've done static get initial props, and then oh, okay, so we've already done scroll to the bottom. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to sort. I'm not sure how much of a delay there is between Harshit and I. Okay, down and then pass an ID and then pass it. Oh, okay. Alright, Harshit, let me know. I just realized from your earlier messages. It said destructure ID change match to ID. Okay. Okay. Probably edges. Why? Okay, now I'm not getting. If you all, if you can't see the live chat, Harshit's directions to me now are like scroll down, scroll up, dude. So I'm just trying to keep up, and then there's a delay between us, so this might be a good application of the like the pair programming thing, where you can both like live code together, like Google Docs style. I know Harshit said VS Code has that. I know they have it. It's really hot in my office, so I'm gonna take off my sweater. Okay, Harshit's saying we got to do something in get initial props. Then I'm not sure what. Alright. I want to see right property edges undefined. Alright, I want to see what data we're getting again. Query ID and get initial props. Okay. Is that where you meant, Harshit? That we're going to return query.id? Or are we going to grab it like here, like query ID? Dang. Property edges. Okay, Harsh is saying return an object. He also said come to Twitter. I'm on, my Twitter's always open, so if you put anything in there, I will see it. All right. Let me show you all what we had done previously. So in project 1, now we weren't using GraphQL. We were using the REST API, but when we got get initial props, we did something like this where we had query and then ID, and then we were able to use ID in here, and then eventually we returned the data. Let's see. And the data ended up, you could access it as this props data. So if we did that, you should be able to access ID as this props ID. Right? Oh goodness, who was that? Rook. Okay, so Rook has noticed that our capitalization is off in get initial props. So let's see if that has anything to do with it. Alright, so we're actually still we're still getting the same error, which is crazy because it certainly should have made a difference. Harsh is saying change ID to ID like this. I don't know. I'm getting the red line, so I think that's not gonna. Still same error. What? How? Is it still a typo? Get INITIAL props. Alright, there we go. Alright, that looks better now. No. GETINITIAL PROPS. Alright, so that's fine now. Alright, Harsh is saying still return this object ID, which I don't think. I'm going to try to write this exactly how I have it written in the Catechetical Institute site, and it worked. Static async, get initial props. Let's just go. Return, let me see, static async, get initial props. Alright, I'm just spacing this out so I can see. Why am I getting so many errors? That's weird. It's weird that I keep getting the same error no matter what I do up here. Alright, let me see this again. So, alright. I'm going to paste in exactly what I have here. And then instead of all this, I'm going to return ID. No. Dang it. Alright. But then ID. Alright, let me on a second. Can I do it like this? What did I do? Messed up. Some projects. In GraphQL. See Twitter. Alright. Oh, okay. Closing tag for the, I never put in a closing tag for this H1. Let's see. Okay, type string was not provided. Okay. And it didn't show me this props ID. What is this props? At least since we didn't error out, we can see what we have here. Let's check out faculty data. Alright, URL query ID. I keep forgetting I already have this props destructured. Alright. Okay, we got it there. I wonder if I even need this. I don't even need that part. Okay. Alright, so that's commented out. I have access to this props URL query ID. Alright, let's see. Let's see what I can access here. Let's see what I have. That's not what I wanted. James asks, is web development rewarding financially? It can be. It definitely can be. There are a lot of good jobs out there that pay. I mean, I've seen jobs listed here in the United States that pay over $100,000 a year, plus benefits and all that for web development. But it varies. If you're in a small town, you're not going to make that much. If you're freelancing, it just depends on what clients you get. You can make a lot less than that, or you can make more than that. But in general, web development is one of the. It pays more than the average job, I would say. At least in this country. I can't speak for what it's like in other countries. Yeah, okay, so Rook asks, is get initial props not a vanilla React thing? Can't find it in the React docs. It's not a vanilla React thing. So get initial props is a NextJS thing. So it's used. So for instance, in this case, we've used it here for our to make our API calls in a way that will still be rendered server side. So anything we do within get initial props in terms of making these calls and getting the data, this will be done on the server. Potentially it could be done on the client as well. It works both ways. And then that data from this call gets added to props here. So this props data is now available. So it's very useful and to use with Next. In this case, we're not doing, we're not putting API calls in every component though, like that. Yeah, Rook noticed we were using async await. Yeah, so we're using async await here, which, when I copied it over, did I leave the async? I think I did. We don't really need to. Oh, it doesn't even matter because I commented this out. Alright, yeah, so I didn't need to keep the async in. I just didn't realize. Excuse me. I didn't realize that I had left it in when I copied it over. Alright, so we're still trying to figure out, let's see. Let's see. Alright, Harsh, it's asking for that sample query. Alright, yeah, where's it at? Let me paste this sample query in there in Twitter to Harsh it. It might let me paste code. I wonder if it'll let me paste code in the live chat. I've never tried it. Let's see, it's gonna look. Oh no, it's too many characters. Actually, it's not bad in Twitter in the direct message. If you paste code, it actually keeps all your spacing and indentation. Really nice. Bruce says your Visual Studio Code looks so amazing with layouts. Yeah, this I haven't done really that much, custom with my Visual Studio Code, except I switched to the Seti theme. That's SETI. So I switched to that theme, and I do have a custom, custom colors for my terminal here. That's about it. I have the plugins that I have here are just from the React Food Truck plugin. So you install React Food Truck, and then it installs a bunch of plugins that help you out with React. I don't even remember what they all are. Sorry. Just keep yawning. Okay, let's go back to faculty. Alright, so we now have, we know we can get this props query ID. We can pass in wait, can we pass it in here? This props query. I don't know if this will work. Maybe this is silly, but I thought it was worth a shot. No, it didn't work. Let's see if I can. This props query ID. Whoa. I won't have access to that now, will I? Props. Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh no, Rook yawn too. It's contagious. I'm gonna have everybody watching yawn. Alright, so let me think. Why can't... I feel like my brain is just stuck here. Like I've had this problem before. And I've solved it before. Why can't I think of how I've done this before? Query of undefined. Alright, so I need to get oops. Alright, so let me bring this over that we worked on before, which is very similar, and it works. So in this case, this is from the bulletin post detail page, which plays, pretty much this. It operates in the same way that this page that we're trying to make operates. Now we have here, we're using React Router, and it makes available this match. Slug. We're not. I don't know that we're doing anything that different. I mean, other than using next instead of create React app. Harshit, can you paste the name? What do you want me to paste, Harshit? let's come on, read query on the phone. Query. I wonder if I would have access to query. No, I don't. I don't have access to query ID. Like that. Nope. Still not working. Alright, let's see what ours. Oh, the name. Okay, so here's the name that we've been using. And this is the URL that, assuming you're hosting this locally, that's the URL that we're trying to get to work. Did not expect this step to take as long as it is, especially since we've done something similar in streams before. All right. If anybody is just joining, just a quick recap. We're using GraphQL with React, so we've used NextJS to create our React app, and we're using Apollo with GraphQL. And what we're doing here is we're pulling in some data, and we've been able to successfully get this data and display it if we hard code in the slug of the post that we want. And we're pulling this data from WordPress. We've installed a plugin to set up GraphQL on WordPress. But what we're trying to do now is get a variable based on the URL and then use part of the URL to tell Apollo, what we want, what data we want, and get that back. So that's where we're at, and that's where we're kind of stuck right now. We can get that data successfully if we go this props URL query ID. We get exactly the data we want. Just having trouble getting that data to get passed along. The closest we got, I think, was we got something passed along, but what was passed along was not what was expected. So they expected a string, and we did not give a string. So that's where we're at right now. So we have one of our viewers and contributors here on the live stream, Harshit, is working on his machine locally to try to solve this, and we're also trying some things here on the stream to try to fix this problem. Let's see. Let me think about this. Okay. Bruce asks, would you recommend Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text 3 or a tool from JetBrains like WebStorm or similar? I have not used Sublime Text. I've heard good things about it. I have used Visual Studio Code and I like it. I have not used JetBrains or WebStorms, but it's my understanding that those are actual IDEs and that for most web development work, you don't need all those extra features. I don't know that from experience. That's just what I've heard. So if you're just going to be doing web development, then I think you'd be fine with Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. I was under the impression that Sublime Text was not free to use. So if that's an issue and you're looking for something that's free, then I'd go with Visual Studio Code. I've heard good things about JetBrains and WebStorm though, but I'm just not sure that that it's necessary to have something that full-featured and potentially heavy for web development. Okay, let's see. I'm going to look some stuff up here on my other screen. Alright, Harshit says, I'm not getting any data from the server. It is returning a null array. It is making the request though. That's interesting. Let's refresh the page. Alright, so the back end's still working. Let's oops. Okay, so I am able to get the data still in GraphQL. Dimitar says, Jesse, can you explain more about GraphQL, particularly in this project? Okay, so if you're familiar with REST APIs, that's a good way to get data. It's a lot of sites use REST APIs now, but in a REST API, sometimes you have the problem where you need data from multiple endpoints, right? So the way REST API is set up normally is, you hit that endpoint and you get back the data that endpoint always gives back, whether or not you need it. So there may be one piece of data you need from there and you get all this other stuff. And then there may be some other data at a different endpoint that you need to hit. So to render one page, you may need to hit multiple endpoints, right? That's not very efficient. What if instead you could send one request, tell the API exactly what you need, and then it gives you back what you need and only what you need? That's GraphQL. So in GraphQL, you get to say what you need. So I'll show you here an example. So right now in this, we're telling it exactly what we want. We want to get a faculty member, and we want to get a faculty member of a certain name. We want the ID, the title, the slug, and the content. We also want to know what faculty department they're from, and we want the ID of the department, the name, and the count, meaning how many members of that department do we have. So what we're going to get back from that is exactly this data, nothing more and nothing less. If we were to try to do something with the REST API, we would probably, we would want to get the faculty member. We could narrow it down to a single faculty member, but we would get a lot more data. Instead of just ID, title, slug content, we would get the date published, the date modified. We would get lots of info about, we would get an excerpt, whether or not we even had one. We would get a lot of data. I wonder if I still have it. I don't think I still have it up. No, I don't. I had an example of what we get, but basically that's what the benefit of using GraphQL as opposed to a normal REST API, which we've used in the past. We've used REST APIs with WordPress and React in the past on projects. Okay, Harshit is asking, it says name in the query, but you're using slug. Yeah, it does do that, but that's how I got it to work. I was reading the documentation, and for some reason it was working with name and not with slug. And in the documentation it was using name as well, so I just stuck with that. It looks like Harshit has a pull request that might fix this. So we will check that out. All right, Bruce says need to go, but we'll be back. Thanks, appreciate the input. No problem. Thanks for watching and for joining in the live chat. Okay, so Harshit's pushing a pull request right now. Let me bring this up, and then I'll move it over to this screen, and we can check out some of Harshit's code and how he's tackled this problem. Dimitar says, thanks for the explanation. Yeah, no problem. Hopefully that was, an okay explanation of why we're using GraphQL. Okay. Let's go back here to faculty.js and let's see. Probably won't work, but why not? May as well try some things while we're waiting. Unexpected error has occurred. And here we go. Alright, is this it? Yeah, did not work. This is a reserved word. Okay. Yep, not working. Alright, let's check GitHub. Alright, so Harshit's pull request has showed up now on GitHub. Oh, now I see in the live chat he has notified me of that as well. Alright, so let's check this out. Alright. Harshit, here's what, since there's only a few things that have changed, I'm going to do it here. I'm just going to type it in, but if it works, I will merge that pull request. So you'll still get credit for the PR. But I think it might be a little bit faster for me to just change some of this. So let's go static. Whoa. That was really weird. That's super weird. If for some reason when I try to copy and paste from GitHub, it's giving me way more than I expected. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just remove some of this. That's weird. Alright, give us a query. We got this. Return. Alright, fine. Okay. Query ID, return ID. Alright, that's what I had anyway. I don't know why I tried to mess with that. Okay, so we're gonna switch up here a bit, and we're gonna make, let's see if I can copy this properly. There we go. And then down here we're gonna change this to just be ID, and you don't need two sets of brackets. And then in here, this is perfect. Okay, so let's see what we get now. Okay, so I'm getting, let's see what we're getting. Okay, this is where we were at before. If you remember, probably a half hour ago now, this is the error we were getting here, is that we required a type of string, but that was not provided. So let's see why. Let's see what's happening here. So we should be able to see in our React Dev Tools what this data is. Where we at? Faculty. Yeah, faculty, and query ID. Huh. That's odd. All right, let's see. Should be able to say Alright, I'm using the React DevTools extension for Chrome DevTools. So if you don't have this on your DevTools, it's an add-on, so it doesn't come automatically. Alright, add faculty. Alright, let's bring this back a bit. Alright, so we're still not getting what we need. Oops. Let me check. I haven't checked the chat in a while. What does Rooket's asking, what does HMR stand for in DevTools? Let me see. I don't remember what that was. Oops. Were we seeing that in? Oops. Here we go. In the console. HMR. I don't know what it stands for, to be honest with you, but it's what I always figured it had something to do with updating modules, episode state. Yeah, it looks like it's something to do with Webpack. Hot module reloading, that's it. The HMR is hot module reloading. So that's why when we hit save, we can see everything update. That's what does that. I don't know how, but that's what it's doing. Okay. All right, so let me try this. Let's see if we're getting whoa. Did it work this time? Yes. I don't know why. I do not know why, but it worked. The only thing that I changed was I console logged ID and I hit refresh twice. I don't understand that. Now what was, is this what we have here? The localhost, yeah. Alright. Okay then. So let's see what we need. Faculty edges would be this props faculty edges node, so the edges 0 node content. Okay, so let's get rid of these comments and data faculty edges node content. Yeah, that'll work. Wonderful. Let's take this out and see if we can still get the data. Yay, it works. Alright, Harshit said it probably had something to do with the cache. Yeah, I think you're right on with that, Harshit. We kept hitting the cache, and who knows how many times we had it right before, because I'm sure there's multiple ways to do this. Yeah, Martin asks, is Visual Studio Code available for Mac? Yeah, it is. It's so I'm using it on a Mac right now. So it's available, I think, for Linux as well. So Linux, Windows, of course, and Mac. Yay! We got it to work. Okay. Well, we can get rid of this now. We don't need that. Don't need that either. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Alright. Just trying to clean things up. I think it's pretty clean. Yep. Awesome. Alright. Get status. And let me push this to GitHub. Actually, yeah, hold on. Let me push this to GitHub. I'm trying to figure out how I can do this and still merge Harshit's PR. I'll still merge it and just fix the conflicts. I don't know. Yay, all our tests ran. Wonderful. Okay. Great. Alright, so anyway, Harshit, I'll merge your pull requests and then just fix the conflicts since I ended up pasting a lot of it over anyway. Oh, you're just going to close the PR? That's cool too, if that's what you want to do. Okay. Harshit says, I'm having trouble with your WordPress install. What's up with the WordPress install? Is it not, you're not getting data back or what? Alright, so now what we need to do is style this a bit. So we had made the decision, I don't know, last week at some point, I think, that we were just going to pull in all this data and then keep all the HTML and everything, and it's pretty messy. You can see what it looks like here, and it has all these custom tags that mean something in the old CMS but not here. So we need to use these tags and style things the way we want. Eventually, we're going to have custom fields for all this data, but we're not going to. I think it'll take more time to do that than it will to just style what we have. So that's what we're going to do first. It'll be a pain at first to get it styled, but once it's styled for one, it'll be, we use the same style for all the faculty members. So I think it'll work out. We may not be able to get exactly the style that we want, but we can probably get close. And then we can deal with doing it properly later on, you know, after the website has to launch. And this will help us keep our deadline. So, not, you know, ideally I wouldn't want to do it this way, but sometimes you just have to think up creative ways to make the deadline, and this is one way where I think we can definitely cut a corner without having too much of a negative impact on the end result. Alright, so let's check this out. Where are we at? Alright. I don't even know how long I've been streaming. Let me check. Okay, we're coming up on about 2 hours. Okay, Harshit says the IP is giving him problems using the IP address instead of WordPress. So, yeah, I can link that to a domain. I'll do that. I'm not going to do it right now, but maybe I'll try to do it before I leave. What time is it? Okay. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should save the styles for a different stream. I just checked the time here, and I am... There's a Christmas party for the university that starts at 6. So that means I have to make sure that I get home and I get everything ready, and then have enough time to go drop the kids off somewhere, probably at my in-laws' house, and then make it to the party. So that means I'm actually going to have to leave work somewhat soon. So I had hoped we would get to the styling at this stream, but actually it makes more sense to do it in another stream, because the title of this stream really had nothing to do with styling a React component with, in this case it's going to be plain CSS in a separate file. But so it would probably be better if I just did this in the next stream under a different title. Let's see, is that a spam account? Yeah, probably. So whoever just asked what is search engine optimization, if you're a legit account, log on with a different username or something and then ask a question. So I'm gonna block this account for now, and because I'm pretty sure it's a spam account. If it's not a spam account, I'm sorry, but you'll have to come back in with something more reasonable as the name that's not so spammy. Rook said, well, the question was related. Yeah, that's why I kind of said, like, come back in, because the question was about search engine optimization, so that's not entirely unrelated to what we're doing here. But yeah, but you all in the chat can see what the name was, so I'm not going to repeat it. But that's not what we're about here on Free Code Camp. So okay, all right. So anyway, just to recap, since we had a long stream and worked through a lot of issues, we are now able to pull data based on the URL. So anytime we go to, in this case, we're in localhost. So localhost 3000/faculty/ and then the faculty's last name and first name. It will pull up the data for that faculty member. So we've transferred that data from SQL Server through the WordPress API into a MySQL database, and then we're pulling it back out of the MySQL database using GraphQL from the WP GraphQL plugin that we've installed. We're pulling that into, with the help of Apollo, into our React app, which was built with NextJS, and it gets put into that page. That's where we're at right now. We just have a bunch of kind of raw HTML that's unstyled. So in the next stream, we're going to style this. We also need to figure out how we're going to get these images working. We'll probably need some kind of like automated way to add in the URL that we want, or we're going to have to match the file structure within our project and just pull over all the images. I don't know that that's the best way to go, because there are quite a few images, and I don't want to bloat our repo with all of that. So probably what we'll do is we'll find somewhere else to store the images, and then we'll just automatically put in the first part. You know, we'll change the URL basically. Either at some point in the process, the URL will get transformed. I think that will be the best way. That will require the least amount of manual kind of copy and paste work. All right, so that's where we're at right now. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and helping. I know some of you have been watching this for almost 2 hours now, and I really appreciate all your patience and your help along the way. Let's see. There is one more question. Martin asks, what's the keyboard combination in VS Code if you want to use the terminal? I actually don't know, Martin. I want to know as well what the keyboard combination is. I never remember. I always just go up to the top to view here and go down. Toggle integrated terminal. I don't know what these symbols mean on a Mac. What? Let's try it out. What is it? Shifts. Nope. Nope. Okay, it's Option Control T. There we go. Option Control T brings up your terminal. At least it does for me. Harsh is saying Command plus, Control plus. Martin says, that's my problem. It has instructions, but I don't know the symbols. I'm the same way. I need to like draw the symbols on my keyboard or something. Otherwise, I never know what the symbols are. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's all I have for today. So today's Friday, so I'll see you all next week. Should be able to stream on Monday. Probably be a little bit early stream because I have my normal 3 p.m. Eastern Time meeting. So try to get the stream in early. So until then, have a great weekend.